And shalom. Welcome to Cover with Jeremy Pyers. So today we're going to be doing part 9 of the Book of Enoch. And my apologies for last week. I was sick, and it was not really sick, but just more lethargic. And I literally could hardly move. But I'm fine now. I don't know what it was. I just drank a lot of water. And I'm good. So thank you all for joining me. And what is it? Part 9 of the Book of Enoch, yeah. And we will start in chapter 70, because we left off at 69 last time. Alright, so chapter 70 of the Book of Enoch from the Eth Sefer. After this, the name of the son of Adam, living with Yahweh Sevaoth, was exalted by the inhabitants of the earth. It was exalted in the chariots of the Ruach, and the name went forth in the midst of them. From that time I was not drawn into the midst of them, but he seated me between two Ruachah, between the north and the west, where the angels receive their ropes to measure out a place for the elect and the righteous. Excuse me. Yeah, it's like allergy season, so my apologies. There I beheld the fathers of the first men and the Kodashim, who dwell in that place forever. Hey, shalom, Andrea. And Robert. Welcome, welcome. Chapter 71. Afterward, my Ruach was concealed, ascending into the heavens. I beheld the son of the holy angels, treading on flaming fire, whose garments and robes were white, and whose countenances were transparent as crystal. I saw 2 rivers of fire, glittering like the hyacinth. Then I fell on my face before Yahweh Sevaoth, and Michael, one of the archangels, took me by my right hand, raised me up, and brought me out, where was every secret mercy and secret righteousness. He showed me all the hidden things of the extremities of heaven, and all the receptacles of the stars, and the splendors of all, from whence they went forth before the face of the holy. And he concealed the Ruach of Hanok in the heaven of heavens. There I beheld, in the midst of that light, a building raised with stones of ice, and in the midst of these stone tongues of living fire, my Ruach saw around the circles of this flaming habitation, on one of its extremities, rivers full of living fire, which encompassed it. Then the Sepharim, the Cheruvim, and the Ophanim surrounded it. These are those who never sleep, but watch the throne of his glory. And I beheld angels, innumerable, thousands and thousands, and myriads, who surrounded that habitation. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Penuel, and the holy angels who were in the heavens above went in and out of it, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel went out of that habitation, and the holy angels innumerable. With them was the Ancient of Days, whose head was white as wool, and pure, and his robe was indescribable. And then I fell upon my face, while all my flesh was dissolved, and my ruach became changed. And I cried out with a loud voice, and with a powerful ruach, blessing, glorifying, and exalting. And those blessings which proceeded from my mouth became acceptable in the presence of the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days came with Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Penuel, with thousands and thousands and myriads, which could not be numbered. Then that angel came to me, and with his voice saluted me, saying, You are the son of Adam, who was born for righteousness, and righteousness has rested upon you. The righteousness of the Ancient of Days shall not forsake you. He said, On you shall he confer peace in the name of the existing world. For from thence has peace gone forth since the world was created. And thus shall it happen to you forever and ever. And all who exist, and who shall walk in your path of righteousness, shall not forsake you forever. With you shall be their habitations, with you their lot. Nor from you shall they be separated forever and ever. And thus shall length of days be with the son of Adam, and peace shall be to the righteous, and the path of integrity shall the righteous pursue, in the name of Yahuwah Sevaot, forever and ever. Pretty amazing right there, honestly. You know, if in this whole statement here, these few paragraphs, it basically explains why Enoch was sent, and it wasn't to lead men, nor does it say he led the earth, like the book of Jasher, but don't worry, I'm still working on that video. There's just been a lot of life holdups. I'm working on it. Alright, chapter 72. The Sefer of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven according to their respective class, their respective powers, and their respective periods, their respective names, and the places where they commence their progress, and their respective months, which Uriel, the holy angel who is with me, explained to me, he who conducted them. The whole account of them according to every year of the world forever, until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. So we're going to get into the luminaries here, if you hadn't noticed. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east, and on the west of it, at the western gates of heaven, I beheld the gates whence the sun goes forth, and the gates where the sun sets, in which gates also the moon rises and sets, and the conductors of the stars among those who precede them. 6 at the rising and 6 at the setting of the sun. So like the gates, I think I've explained this before, but the gates are basically like on the flat plane we live on. If you basically slice it like a pie, like each slice would be entering, like the beginning of the slice would be entering that gate. Then on the other slice, the other side of that piece would be exiting that gate. All these respectively, one after another, are on a level. Numerous windows are on the right and on the left sides of those gates. So right there on a level, a level plane. First proceeds forth that great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete with splendid and flaming fire. Its chariot, where it ascends, the wind blows. The sun sets in heaven, and returning by the north to proceed towards the east, it is conducted so as to enter by that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. In the same manner it goes forth in the first month by the great gate. It goes forth through the fourth of those 6 gates, which are at the rising of the sun. And in the 4th gate, from which the sun rises in the first month, there are 12 open windows, from which issues out a flame when they are opened in their proper period. And when the sun rises in heaven, it goes forth through this 4th gate 30 days, and by the 4th gate in the west of heaven on a level with it descends. During that period the day is lengthened from the day, and the night curtailed from the night for 30 days. And then the day is longer by 2 parts than the night. The day is precisely 10 parts, and the night is 8. So, this basically explains again the spring equinox is the beginning of the first month. And during this whole first month, it becomes from spring to summer. So the day is longer by 2 parts than the night. So I mean, yeah. You can't argue with that. Like, anyways. The sun goes forth through this 4th gate and sets in it, and turns to the 5th gate during 30 days, after which it proceeds from, then sets in, the 5th gate. Then the day becomes lengthened by a second portion, so that it is 11 parts, while the night becomes shortened and is only 7 parts. The sun now returns to the east, entering into the 6th gate, and rising and setting in the 6th gate 31 days on account of its signs. At that period the day is longer than the night, being twice the night, and become 12 parts. But the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. Then the sun rises up, that the day may be shortened and the night lengthened. So these gates it's talking about is the ones, so like basically, the equator is the center, like, and the sun will go from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn in between. I believe those are the gates it's talking about, or he's talking about here, which create the seasons. And it goes from, spring, summer, fall to winter, and repeats. And the sun returns towards the east, entering into the sixth gate, where it rises and sets for 30 days. When that period is complete, the day becomes shortened precisely 1 part, so that it is 11 parts, while the night is 7 parts. Then the sun goes from the west, from that sixth gate, and proceeds eastward, rising in the fifth gate for 30 days, and setting again westwards in the fifth gate of the west. At that period, the day becomes shortened 2 parts, and is 10 parts, while the night is 8 parts. So it's basically describing just the opposite of what we just went through. Then the sun goes from the fifth gate as it sets in the fifth gate of the west, and rises in the fourth gate for 31 days, on account of its signs, setting in the west. Let's see. Notice how some days it'll take 30 days, some months it'll take 30 days, and some months it'll take 31. This is also where how the Zadok calendar I follow, 30, 30, 31, 30, 30, 31. That's how the months go. 2 30s and a 31. Because that's exactly what it describes here. 2 30s and a 31. But people want to fight and argue. I'm done fighting and arguing. No more. I've actually just been sitting back and watching. I'll get into that later. It's been very interesting. So then the sun goes from the fifth gate as it sets in the fifth gate of the west, and rises in the fourth gate for 31 days, on account of its signs setting in the west. At that period the day is made equal with the night, and being equal with it, the night becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Then the sun goes from that gate as it sets in the west, and returning to the east, proceeds by the third gate for 30 days, setting in the west at the third gate. So many gates. At that period, the night is lengthened from the day during 30 mornings, and the day curtailed from the day during 30 days. The night being 10 parts precisely, and the day 8 parts. The sun now goes from the third gate as it sets in the third gate in the west, but returning to the east. It proceeds by the second gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner also it sets in the second gate in the west of heaven. At that period the night is 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. Then the sun goes at the time from the second gate as it sets in the second gate in the west, but returns to the east, proceeding by the first gate for 31 days. and sets in the west in the first gate. At that period, the night is lengthened, and as much again as the day. It is 12 parts, precisely, while the day is 6. Whew, there's a lot packed in here. It's basically just... So, we go from gates 1 to 6, and then we go backwards. Or 1 to 7, and then we go backwards. The sun has completed its beginnings, and a second time goes round from these beginnings. Into that gate it enters for 30 days, and sets in the west, in the opposite part. So it's basically describing how it goes between the tropics, and why we see the sun do that. Like, it'll go lower in the sky and higher in the sky, etc., etc. But if you watch it rise and set, it's not... You can tell it's not very high in the sky. And it's literally like circling. It's circling. And when the sun sets, it doesn't actually go below the horizon, because you can take a P1000 and zoom in on it and see that it's still going and just disappearing, because the light doesn't reach that far. Like, take a flashlight, go into a giant warehouse, and stand at one end and shine it at the other, and tell me how far that light will go. Anyway. And then the sun returns and enters into the second gate of the east. It returns by these beginnings 30 days, rising and setting. At that period the night is contracted in its length. It becomes 10 parts, and the day 8 parts. Then the sun goes from that second gate, sets in the west, but returns to the east, and rises in the east in the third gate. 31 days, setting in the west of heaven. At that period the night becomes shortened. It is 9 parts, and the night is equal with the day. The year is precisely 364 days. The lengthening of the day and night, and the contraction of the day and night, are made to differ from each other by the progress of the sun. By means of this progress, the day is daily lengthened, and the night greatly shortened. This is the law and the progress of the sun, and its turning, and when it turns back. Turning during 60 days, and going forth, this is the great everlasting luminary, that which he names the sun forever and ever. This is also that which goes forth a great luminary, and which is named after its peculiar kind, as Elohim commanded, and thus it goes in and out, neither slackening nor resisting, but running on its chariot by day and by night. And its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, but the dimensions are both equal. So if you look up at the sky at the sun and the moon, they're exactly the same size, but they're 93 million miles apart. Yeah, you can beat my poker face, because that defies some odds. Alright, cool. At least I answered your question before seeing it. I try to explain it a little, as much as I can. I don't know everything. I don't, but I mean, this is there's a lot jam-packed in here, but once you kind of like understand what things are, like the gates and the portals, etc., and which gates and which portals, then it'll make more sense. Whew, so that was quite the chapter. That was all 72 there. So chapter 73. After this law I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name of which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. Its chariot secretly ascends, the wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. Every month, at its exit and entrance, it becomes changed. And its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when the moon is full, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and at its commencement towards the east, goes forth for 30 days. At that time, it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month, 30 days with the sun in the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, 1, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except the 7th portion. And out of the 14 portions of its light, and in a day it receives the 7th portion, or half of its light. Its light is by sevens, by 1 portion, and by the half. It sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night, when it commences its period, previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun, and on that night it is dark 14 portions, that is, half, but it rises on the day with 1/7 portion precisely, and its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Chapter 74. And then I saw another progress and regulation, which he effected in the law of the moon. The progress of the moons, and everything Uriel showed me. The holy angel. Pretty interesting how it says the progress of the moons, plural, there. The holy angel who conducted them all, their stations, wrote down as he showed them to me. I wrote down their months as they occur, the appearance of their light, until it is completed in 15 days. In each of its 2/7 portions, it completes all its light at rising and setting. So this is not saying the moon is 4 months. This is just saying, at first, it'll be equal to the sun, 30 days, which the sun is the sign for months, as we've been over in Jubilees. Anyway, on each of its 2/7 portions, it completes all its light at rising and at setting. On stated months, it changes settings, and on stated months, it makes its progress on each. In two, the moon sets with the sun. In those two gates which are in the midst, in the third and fourth gate, it goes forth 7 days, and makes its circuit. Again it returns to the gate whence the sun goes forth, and in that completes the whole of its light. Then it declines from it declines from the sun, and enters in 8 days into the sixth gate, from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun proceeds to the fourth gate, it goes forth for 7 days, until it passes from the fifth. Again it returns in 7 days to the fourth gate, and completing all its light, declines and passes on by the first gate in 8 days, and returns in 7 days to the fourth gate, from which the sun goes forth. Thus I beheld their stations as according to the fixed order of the months. The sun rises and sets. At those times there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years. All these days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days. And to the sun and the stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years. 30 days belonging to them, so that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and the stars. The moon brings on all years exactly. Brings on all the years exactly, that their stations may come together to forwards, not to backwards, a single day, but that the years may be changed with correct precision in the 364 days. So guess what that's saying? The moon is the sign for the 4 seasons. Right there in Enoch. In 3 years, the days are 1,092. In 5 years, they are 1,820. And in 8 years, 2,912 days. To the moon alone belong in 3 years 1,062 days. In 5 years it has 50 days less. For an addition being made to the 62 days, in 5 years there are 1,770 days. And the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832 days. For its days in 8 years are less 8 days, which 8 days are its diminution in 8 years. The year then becomes truly complete, according to the station of the moon and the station of the sun, which rise in the gate, which rise and set in them for 30 days. Alright, so that was 74. And we're gonna stop it right there for this evening and answer some questions and such, and chat with you guys. So the moon and sun are both spheres of light, orbs. Yeah, exactly. Luminaries. They're set in the firmament. They're not like just floating below it. They're kind of set in it, which is why the moon has that kind of like hazy look, especially when you see it in the daytime. Like it'll look like it's kind of like behind water, and the sun's just a burning ball of fire. So I mean that And seriously, look at the full moon and then look at the sun, and you'll see they're the exact same diameter, but they're supposedly 93 million miles apart. Those are quite the odds to come up with the exact same diameter in the sky. Anyway, test everything. Test everything. I know sometimes Enoch can be really difficult to understand. And it takes reading it more than just one time. It takes several times, just like the rest of scriptures. You can read over it one time, but you ain't gonna know anything. You have to read it several times, over and over and over, and just never stop, honestly. Yeah, see-through moon. Exactly. You can see stars behind it and such, and then there's the impossible eclipse. Go look that one up. They have some bunk excuse for that, but it's called an impossible eclipse because it proves the sun or the earth is not the shadow being cast on the moon causing it to have crescents. Go run that test on a ball. Tell me how perfectly crescent that shadow is going to be across that ball. Anyway. There's just so much. And anyways, I've been kind of taking a break from Facebook a little bit. By that I mean just kind of not posting a whole lot, just kind of sitting back and actually trying to scroll through the timeline and actually see people's posts instead of getting flooded with hundreds and hundreds of notifications. And it's been interesting. I've also been going back to some older ministries I haven't watched in a while. And we'll get to that too, but anyway, so just sitting back and watching Facebook and just kind of being quiet, which I'm working on as well, because I know I have an attitude sometimes, and it's just because I'm passionate. And I'm just working on, trying to be quiet if people aren't going to listen. Because, you can say things till you're blue in the face and they'll turn it around and say, you don't understand, you're not listening. But reality, they're the ones not listening. Anyway, I've just been sitting back watching and I just see... I'm really not the only one that gets attacked, and I know this. And the ones that do the attacks that attack me a lot are the same ones that are attacking everyone else and calling out brothers and sisters falsely and accusing them falsely and throwing hate and shade, and it's I'm just wow. I haven't said anything. I've just been saying it on here because I know not a lot of people watch on here, so not a lot of people are going to cast hate and shade on me on here because my family's on here, you guys. The people that hate me usually don't watch me, or they usually don't even know that I have a YouTube, so anyway. But I was just baffled and shocked, and I'm just wow. False accusations and hate just cast at people who are you could tell. I'm not going to say whose post or whatever, I'm not going to cast anyone's names out, but you could tell one person has a channel, the other person doesn't. You can tell the person who doesn't have the channel, who is calling out the brother who had a channel, making false accusations, didn't watch anything that he posts, and it's and he's calling him double-minded and this and that, and all kinds of stuff, and I was just wow, on a good brother too, And it was sad because this brother was just sitting back like, hey, I'm not mad, brother. I'm just trying to point this and that out. No hate here. And the guy was just like, oh, screw you, basically. And I'm like, ooh. Another reason why I've been avoiding Facebook a lot, too. No matter what you say, people will just throw hate and shade. And then just ministries, online ministries. You know, the ministry that's here locally in Arizona that I was working for and attending, I decided to go, check them out again because I just wanted to say, hey, Shabbat Shalom. I don't have hate for you guys. Like, even though I was falsely accused and all kinds of stuff by them, like I forgive them. Like, drop it. It's all good. So I go back and I comment to say, hey, Shabbat Shalom. And I was totally blocked from commenting. But yet, they invite me on Facebook to come watch their videos. So I'm going to come watch your videos and not be allowed to comment because of your false accusations, and then I call you out on it and just get hate from all your followers. Like, whatever. Done with that. So unsubscribing from them. I'm not going to follow them anymore. I don't hate them. I don't hold animosity for them. I can't. Those people truly are double-minded. And I've witnessed it several times. They'll preach this and that and like talk about how you shouldn't gossip and this and that. We need to approach brothers and sisters. But here they are, gossiping behind people's backs. I was a victim of it. They don't approach you about it. They'll just gossip behind your back and you'll hear it from another brother or sister that happen to have heard it. And it's like, and I've told them several times, if you've got a problem with anything I say or anything I do, come to me personally and we can talk it over. Like, oh yeah, no, you're good, you're fine, to my face. Then they talk behind your back, then invite you to their shows and won't let you comment. And it's like, yeah, exactly, that's what I say. It's hatred, just demonic hatred, exactly like you said, brother, sister. I know you're both watching, so but yeah, it's just like, wow. And then so another ministry that I haven't watched in a while, it's not UCTV, but I used to like watching them until they started hating on like anyone who used the sacred names, and I stopped watching them for a while. And like, especially since they tossed out Rob Skiba and Jake and all that. So anyways, I decided I'll check out one of their programs because another brother keeps like sending me links to them. So I'm like, alright, whatever, I'll check them out again, see if they've passed on from that. And I started watching it because first few episodes it was good. I was like, yeah, this is why I was watching them back in the day. Then here came the inevitable sacred namers. Oh, don't listen to them. Anyone who uses the sacred name, they're liars, doctrines of devil. They're agents and spies. Anyone you see that comments this, they're CIA agents and spies. I was like, whoa. I was like, hold up. This coming from the ministry who has like 12 sponsorships, gets donations, but still requires a monthly subscription to access their content that you push on every single episode? Say what? I'm just like, wow. So, no, I'm not following them anymore. And then when you ask them questions about it, they don't answer it. Their fans will come at you with a bunch of hate, but they won't answer you. And I'm just like, what happened to the unity? I literally said this. What happened to the unity? Whether you say God and Jesus, Yahusha, Yahuwah, Yeshua, Yahovah, whatever. It doesn't even matter. It's the principality behind it. Yes, languages and such have twisted things and yeah, I mean Rob Skiba as well, he's going off the deep end kind of a little bit with Zen. And I asked him questions and he basically made up answers to try and prove the serpent seed theory, because I commented on one of his videos, please stop promoting this disgusting serpent seed doctrine that is garbage, and I laid out many scriptures and timelines that showed and specifically laid out the sin of Eve was partaking of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It was not Satan having sex with Eve. Cain was not an offspring of Satan. That's like saying because we call Yahuwah our father, he is our father, so he literally had sex with our mothers. It's like the same concept. And I said that as well. And all they could say was, well, there's plenty of scriptures that support the serpent seed. I was like, show me one. Show me one. Because I just showed you 10 that don't support it. Well, stutter. I explained in my video. Okay, let me watch your video again. So I watched it. His explanation was just something he totally made up in his head. Seriously, nowhere supported nowhere in scriptures. And then, so I asked again, so, can you show me book, line, and chapter where you got this theory from any book at all? And please, show me any scripture at all that supports the serpent seed theory. Crickets. It's been crickets for about a week. I'm just... these people that are huge in the community, and they have all these followers that these followers just breathe off every word they say. And as soon as you question anything they say, you got 10 of their followers attacking you. And it's like, look, I'm just trying to point something out here. I'm not attacking you at all. I'm just trying to say, hey, look, what about this verse? What about this? And what I'm legitimately asking legitimate questions and just get attacked. And one guy even made fun of my beard. It said I was condescending. I was like, yeah, okay, it says the one with condescending remarks about my beard. Literally all you have to do is ask questions, non-condescending, seriously legitimate, and these people will avoid them. They won't answer them. They'll come at you with 20 different questions with some crazy theory and expect you to answer every single question on point while never answering yours. And then when you answer them all, proving your point, and then say, now can you answer mine? Well, you didn't answer mine. Okay. Okay, that's when we're done. That's when we're done. Have a blessed day. Goodness. And I'm just seeing it everywhere, and it's like, so which book, line, and chapter says, go spread condescending and hateful remarks to your brother asking questions? Hey, what book and verse says when asked a question, avoid that question, then repeatedly ask 20 different other questions to try and dismiss the original question that was asked? Then when answered and asked to answer that question, you come up, yeah, it's amazing and mind-blowing. I'm going to sit back, I'm going to be quiet from now on. I'm just going to share his truth. If someone has a problem with his truth, that's between you and Yah. I'm done being upset and angry. I'm the most chill and relaxed person you can ever meet. You can ask anybody that knows me. And anything I say online, I'll say in real life as well. You can ask anybody that knows me, like for real. You can go ahead and ask that ministry too, because I went to the apostle's wife because he's too afraid to even talk to me. Honestly, won't even talk or comment. So I have to go to his wife, and I say, hey, look, if you have a problem with things I say, or if we have a disagreement between things, let's not go talking behind backs and come to me, please. Nope. Here come the accusations and this and that. And I was stealing from them and this. And I was like, oh God. Yeah, it is the confusion. And that's what I said too. I was like, why are we spreading doctrines that just cause confusion instead of like legitimately just studying it out and like not being like, well, in my opinion, this and that, and this is how it is, and like, that's your opinion, but then people will take those opinions as doctrine. Is the sad part. And I mentioned that to all these. They don't call themselves teachers, but they're well known in the Torah community, and I'm sure every single one of you have heard of them as well. And I've gone to every one of them and asked questions and have received just kind of blow off answers, or, that's not a time to discuss it right now. Oh, well, when is the time to discuss it? Because I just asked you a question. And you're just going to, oh, well. And it's sad. There's this one ministry I asked. So, do you take Jasher over Jubilees? If so, why? When all the evidence in the Dead Sea Scrolls shows Jubilees was the third most common find. There were so many fragments of it in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, how many was there of Jasher? 0. Zip. Zilch. The response I got was, I'm in the air, but Jasher and Jubilees are like this, and I lean more towards Jasher. I was like, even with all that evidence. And he said, oh, well, there's some misconceptions that don't line up in the book of Jubilees that I don't like. I was like, oh, which book, chapter, and verse? And he said it, and it was, I think it was like Jubilees 37 or something like that. I don't remember it, but it was basically when it's laying out what you should do on Sabbath, like what to do and what not to do. And we went over that. And I was like, so what are your qualms with this verse? Oh, well, that now's not the time or place. Okay. So when's the time and place? Let's discuss this. If you're a student, and you're wanting to answer questions, but you don't want to answer that, it's really sad. That's literally all I'll do is ask questions. And I'll get things like, oh, you're so condescending and hateful and blah, blah, blah. Like, for asking a question and then asking for it to be answered. Anyway. I'm just going to continue. I'm going to continue working on myself and my relationship with Yah. I suggest everyone does the same. Test things for yourself. Test things to His Word. Yeah, Robert. I started to read the book of Jasher and couldn't get through it because I knew it was so far off base that it didn't even line up with actual scripture. Exactly. In the first chapter alone in the first chapter, it's turning the story of Cain and Abel not into whose sacrifice was better, but into a battle of land and flock. No sacrifices mentioned at all. Not one. And oh yeah, Cain got some kind of tablets and prophesied to by Yah. Because, Yah prophesies to evil ones who kill and murder. It's so garbage. Like, it's so hard for me to read. That's why it's taken me so long as well. Like, I have to force myself to go through it and not laugh or want to throw it in the garbage because, like, man. And then people are using it to base their teachings off of. And it's like, what? The same thing with the Targums. Like, do a little history research on those. You'll see Jewish rabbis added their thoughts and preconceived notions and bias all over it. And notice how they're called the Babylonian Targums as well. But they're going to use those as teachings. It's like, goodness, people, can you not? That's going to be another one I'm going to do after Jasher, is the Targums. We're going to see what the Targums added. But then people will cry over some discrepancy in Jubilees that's not even there. When the Targums add so much, and it's ridiculous. They totally exegesis everything. Like, if you didn't notice, like, not every time it says Yahweh sent his angel, that does not mean that was Yahusha. Every time it says Yah sent his word, that is Yahusha. Yahusha is not an angel. So when it says Yahusha or Yahuwah sent his angel, that is an angel who represents Yahuwah. Just like kings and queens would send emissaries of themselves, and that emissary would represent the king himself. So, yeah. I mean, reread scriptures if you don't believe me. Like, the Messiah is not an angel. He was made before angels. He created the angels. He's not an angel. So how can Yahuwah send him as an angel? No, when he sends his word, yes. When he sends his angel, that's an emissary angel. Anyway, enough of that. If you want more on that, check out Brother Sean's channel, Kingdom in Context. He goes over that a lot, actually, and it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, it's crazy. The book of Jasher and the book of Thomas are the reason why people think the Apocrypha is evil and shouldn't be read. Yeah, exactly. They take these crazy books that definitely are not in line with scriptures and use them as examples why we shouldn't read actual scriptural books. Like every single one I've read on my channel so far. And it's just baffling. Just teachings of men everywhere, deception everywhere, wolves everywhere, hate everywhere. I'm just trying to spread love and show people how to get to Yah, how to get to that path. Find it for yourself. I'll tell you, it's not in churchianity. I'll tell you, the Torah was never done away with. It was expounded upon. Paul did not teach against Torah. No. We're going to go over that as well. That was actually my plan. So after Enoch, we're still doing the writings of Paul. Yeah, books written by Gnostics. Exactly. Forgeries and believers in Gnosticism. If you don't know what that is, you should really go study into that because it's disgusting. Just like Zionism, the papacy, all that. It's all connected. It's all under Satan. And that's a whole nother thing. This other channel I never watched. But they started talking about how Satan isn't an actual entity or being. He's us. And yeah, that whole nother level. they completely toss out the book of Job. When you ask questions about, well, then who's the dragon in Revelation, the original serpent? I don't know. Then they think they got something. It's like, so a bunch of I don't knows and tossing out the book of Job is your key doctrine to why Satan doesn't exist? Like, beware, Mishpaha. There are so many wolves. Or there's these babies who don't know anything trying to teach what they don't know. I don't try to teach anything. I go from what I've learned over the course of my entire life. I've been in religion, in and out, many of them, my entire life. I've been reading scriptures, not my entire life, but since my early 20s. Like, I'll be 39 this year. But people want to call me a baby. Oh, you've been in Torah 2 months and try to preach it. No. Actually, my eyes were opened from reading the Bible for so many years that I started to see and question all these things. Unlike ones who suck off teats and nipples because their pastor or apostle pays for their car note and their apartment and their rent. Oh, what was it that you do again? You post funny memes? Anyway, I'm done with people. Well, I'm done with arguing with people, I should say. It's just, it causes too much stress. I'm just going to keep sitting back and watching. Let it unfold. I know where I stand. I know where my doctrines stand. They stand in His Word. They stand what is written in His Word. Not by off what this guy says or what that guy says. Or this guy is such a prominent figure in the community, we should listen to him. Should you? Or should you question him and ask him and point out his flaws like we're supposed to? Anyway. I babble a lot, and I do have a lot of things to say, and it's just because I'm so passionate, and so many things are just so upsetting in the body, and it's like, but then I get accused of these things, and it's like, take a step back here. Take a step back. Let's all re-examine ourselves. I've been re-examining myself as well. I'm not leaving myself out. There has been times I've been rude, yes. There's times I've said things I'd regret saying and shouldn't have said, yes. But, you know, all of us have been through that. Not one of us is perfect, like I always say. So, I mean, I have no hate or animosity towards anybody. It's just, there's some I just cannot be around. Because their doctrines are just upsetting because they're so twisted and they don't listen. But that's between them and Yah. Brother Robert, we believe the Book of Enoch, First Esdras, and Jubilees should be part of the canon. Yeah, absolutely. Me as well. Me as well. Actually, I was going to go over all the Esdras. First, second, third, and fourth. In my opinion, I think they should all be part of it. You know, there's just a lot that, the Zionists and Christendom have taken out of the canon because it doesn't fit their doctrinal views and their twisted ways of thinking. And they don't want you to see these books that explain so much and unravel these things that they know if you read it, you're going to have your eyes open. So they put so much hate on, emphasis on hating these books, giving them bad names by using bad examples as Jasher and etc. The Gospels of Thomas, like all those Gnostic books, like crazy Gnostic books that literally don't line up at all. Enough of my babbling. My apologies. I do love every single one of you. Even if you hate me, I love you. For real. And like I said, I just want to spread his word. That's all I care about. And yes, Satan twists everything. Satan has had every human being in existence to practice deception on. Don't take that lightly. When it says even the elect may be deceived, that's not a light statement. Like, we don't know who the elect are. Only Yahweh knows who the elect are. So you can call yourself an elect, but no one knows right now. You could be. I'm not going to call myself an elect one. That's that's treading on dangerous grounds, on pride and lifting oneself up. But then again, I'm just a humble servant of the word. And I hope Yah blesses each and every one of you and your families. And I hope you all have a blessed week. Don't forget, time is short. Time is short. Things are happening quick in the world. Turn to Him. Share His word. Do everything in love. Many blessings to you all. Please like and share if you liked it. If not, give it a dislike. That's fine. I don't hate. But I love you all, and have a blessed evening.